What's on Instagram? Mercedes Eileen. Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad that you're tuning in again. I'm happy to see you here. And I'm hoping that you could get something great from this video. And I hope that you got something great from the last video. But I'm going to go ahead and get into it. So today is low-key kind of a continuation of the last video. Heavily focused on rejection and neglect because that's what I'm going through right now. In the last video, I expressed how going through a breakup exposed my biggest flaw, which is a very deep sensitivity to rejection and neglect and abandonment and anything that is close to that, anything that has to do with it at all. Yeah, I'm kind of going through it right now. I can definitely say I'm not heavily depressed. I've had my moments of being very close to spiraling, but thank God I was able to get through them without actually spiraling. As of today, I feel great. However, I was having, normal moments of, missing the person that you were with, thinking about them and just kind of grieving them as the person that you once knew in the way you did. In my situation, I am trying out a friendly relationship with this person, which I don't know if I'm mature enough for that just yet in my emotional maturity journey. I would like to think of myself as very emotionally mature, but this situation has definitely tested me in a lot of ways. And just on a regular basis, I'm a pretty jealous person, and jealous in the way of just thinking about it. I'm not a person who's checking through a person's phone. I'm a bit more secure than that. Actually, a lot more secure than that. I'm not into checking phones, and if I start feeling like I have to do that stuff, we gotta part ways. But in this situation, me and the person aren't together anymore, and I am always thinking about if they're moving on. I know that I want to move on, so but I mean, just because I do doesn't mean that that's what that person is focused on, but still. And if I'm being completely honest, my urge to move on and go on to the next is not because I didn't care about that person. It's not because I didn't value that person, but it is because I'm thinking about that person a lot and I want to stop thinking about them. I still feel emotionally attached to that person, of course, because it's only been a couple weeks. I dated this person for a year and it's only been a couple weeks. So yeah, I'm struggling. I want to get over this person. I want to not think about them in that way. Although I am a bit offended by the fact that, this person ended the relationship and didn't want to be with me, and I still wanted to be with them. I can be also aware enough to know that I do value my connection to this person, and I do think that we would be good friends if we could get to that point. But it's just getting to that point, reframing our dynamic in my head as platonic rather than romantic. And I don't know how possible that is to do when I'm still in contact with this person. So I'm intentionally, trying to text this person less and just not interact with them as much. When the urge comes to talk to this person or interact with them, I'm avoiding doing that because I really need to emotionally detach as quick as possible, because I don't want to be put in a situation to where they are moving on, or I'm hearing something about that and it's making me feel some type of way. I don't know if I have the tools to get through something like that, and I don't even want to face something like that. So I want to get over them as quick as possible. I really wanted to talk about my experience trying to manage this sensitivity to rejection and neglect and detachment. In my perception of my life, I've had a lot of rejection. I've been rejected a lot. I've been abandoned a lot. I've been neglected a lot. when I was 10, you know, my dad left me and my mom and did whatever he did, started a whole new family somewhere else. And I can definitely say that that was a huge hit to my self-worth. It hit me really hard. It hit me really deep. It did make me feel like, you know, maybe I'm not good enough for someone to sacrifice for, and, you know, I'm not good enough for someone to change for or do what they need to do so that we can still be together, you know? That being my first experience. And then, you know, going through a lot of rejection in school with friends, and just not necessarily being a person that I wasn't, because I do feel like I was myself when I had a lot of friends. In high school, that was the last time I had a lot of friends. That's why I'm referring to high school. But experiencing a lot of rejection because I went against the grain, you know? I'm not really a good follower because I do what I want to do and I don't do what other people want to do. I don't live my life based off of what other people think is acceptable or what other people think is okay. I can literally count on one hand how many times I've like come across that to where I wanted to be a certain type of way because of what was deemed as acceptable in other people's eyes. It's happened. I'm human, but I don't do it often. But going through that rejection in school, and then getting older and going through that rejection with the father of my child, and then not necessarily being rejected, but just being kept at a distance because of the people that I chose to interact with between, you know, my child's father and the person that I'm with now. You know, I went through a lot of situations where I was in casual situationships that I thought were serving me because they were making me feel wanted for that 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour or whatever. Not realizing that, you know, every time that I convinced myself that I didn't want something more and I went along with something less than because I felt like that's what I had to do, it was contributing to that feeling of not being good enough, of not being good enough to be with, of not being worth enough for someone to, you know, invest in and be vulnerable with and, you know, do all the things. This breakup isn't really any different. You know, still even today, feeling like my ex is a great person. I think that he's amazing. The circumstances didn't line up for us to be together. And I personally have never let anything that I didn't want to get in the way of something get in the way. And in this scenario of me and my ex, I felt like my ex just wasn't willing to make sacrifices for our relationship to work. And that really hurt me. And it made me feel like I wasn't worth enough. And it's not because I actually feel like something is wrong with me. And that's the crazy thing. Like, I feel like two things are being true at one time. You know, I think I'm a great person. I'm very loving. I'm selfless. I will do anything for the people that I love. And when I say do anything, I really mean it. I've had a lot of people, specifically men in my life, tell me that they would do anything for me, but it wasn't true. There was always a limit. And not even, you know, I would never ask anyone to do anything unreasonable for me. But when it came to changing their ways or growing, the men in my life have always failed me. And it's the same thing in this relationship that has come to an end. You know, a person says they'll do anything for you, but it's just simply not true. And I'm coming to the conclusion that it's never going to be true. But when I say it to someone, when I say I'll do anything for you, I mean it. And I mean it, of course, to a reasonable extent. I'm not going to put my life at risk or nothing like that, like unless it's for my daughter, and that's because I owe that to her. But within a reason, in whatever way I can figure something out, I'm gonna figure it out. If that means us staying together, or if that means, you know, the health of our relationship, because once I made up my mind I want to be with someone, I want to be with you. So I mean, maybe that's the difference for me, but just that lack of of sacrificing certain things. I feel like when you have the opportunity to do so, it's an opportunity for you to, you know, show that person like, I'm willing to go the extra mile for you. And I've seen it done. I've seen people in relationships and a person sacrifice a lot to be with someone, not even to an unhealthy extent, like to a healthy extent, sacrifice things to be with someone, and it makes their relationships grow stronger. I've never had that. I've never had anyone go that extra mile for me. The closest I could say was probably my best friend, and that's why we're still best friends to this day. We've had a lot of close calls, but we're still best friends because I feel like she goes that extra mile for me. I think that she does the best with what she knows how. However, I feel like that hasn't been done for me in relationships, and I've honestly just reached a point of not wanting to be in a relationship until that person that is going to go that extra mile for me comes, because no one likes to be heartbroken. Everyone hates for their heart to be broken. I hate to have to detach from someone. And I think because I am a person like that, even if I'm not like that about a person at first, once we are together, once we are in love, like once this is what we're doing, I'm like that. You know, I would do anything for the person that I love, for my significant other, of course, to a reasonable, safe extent. And I'm just like tired of getting in relationships to where that's not the situation for me. And so I really just want to, at this point, I'm in a season and on a journey of learning how to be okay with being alone, in order to avoid putting myself in situations like this with people who half-ass love me, with people who, you know, just aren't willing to go that extra mile for me, because that's what I deserve. So maybe, you know, instead of looking at this as another rejection, as another, you know, another confirmation of me not being good enough, of something being wrong with me, and that's why people aren't doing this for me, looking at it as more of a reason to just wait for someone to show me that they feel that way about me, because I do believe that's what I deserve. Wholeheartedly, I believe that I deserve someone who is going to go that extra mile for me. And I encourage you to do the same. You know, I think that, you know, people are really cruel about people with mental illnesses. They make you feel like, you know, you have to take whatever, or even not even mental illnesses, but I could even say, like, you know, people who are single moms. I'm a single mom, and you know, I'm a double statistic. So but you know, you deserve that. If you're a good person, if you give the most to people, if you would do anything for the people that you love, you deserve to be loved by people who would do that for you. And so I guess what I got from this situation, from this relationship, was just because a person is a good person or seems to be a good person or any of that, it doesn't mean that they love you. It doesn't mean that they'll go that extra mile for you. And you deserve someone who will go that extra mile for you. Don't settle. And it was hard for me to wrap my mind around the fact that I could have been settling, you know, if that person wouldn't have chosen to break up, like just them still not doing what I needed, or compromising to where we could both be happy. It would have been me settling. And we don't even think about that type of stuff. Like, sometimes we settle in ways that we don't even realize. And I don't deserve to have to do that. You know, if I'm a great partner to someone, I need the same thing back. If I'm willing to go that extra mile for someone, I deserve someone that'll go that extra mile for me. I don't know how many times I've said that. I'm kind of tired of saying it, so that means I've said it a lot. So I'm not gonna say it no more. But yeah, you deserve someone who would do that for you, if you would do that for them. But yeah, so now I'm on my single journey. And I think that being single and, you know, kind of going through that isolation, even though it might be painful for me because I have so much trauma tied to being isolated and being alone and having to fend for myself, even when I needed help. And I personally feel like I need help in life. I personally don't think that, you know, I thrive alone, but I think it's worth it to do so in the process of waiting for a person who's going to love me the way that I need to be loved and go as hard for me as I'm going to go for them. And you deserve the same, once again. So yeah, I guess I'll end it here. I pretty much came to my conclusion. Y'all saw it in real time. I literally, this is off the dome. This came off the dome. So you deserve it, man. You deserve the best, especially if you're giving out the best. And if you're not giving out the best, work on yourself to the point to where now you deserve the best. and you can wait on that thing or that person or whatever. So yeah, I thank you again for tuning in. Go ahead and subscribe and like before you click off of this video, and I can't wait to see y'all in the next one. Yeah, be blessed.